everyone. I'm so excited to be here with all of you, wherever you are in the world. My name is Christine Garrard, and I'm an education consultant with Promethean. I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so shout out to any North Carolinians out there. And I'm really excited to talk to y'all today about virtual field trips and getting your kids engaged with brand new content in a way that maybe you haven't seen before. I've got some really excellent people helping me out today. I've got Angie, who's in the chat, who's going to be helping me out. And I've got my partner, Katie, back here, who's a fellow education consultant.
Hi.
As questions come up, as I'm going through things, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat. Angie will get back to you, or we'll answer it live on air. This is a live session. So as things come up, please don't hesitate to reach out because I'm here for you. We've got some really great things going on today. Maybe you've tuned in a little bit earlier. Today, right now, we're breaking the ice and getting kids thinking on virtual field trips with the active panel. But you can see here we have a session on gadgets, solar power, and then hole-in-one, kind of thinking about geometry and golf. So, to get started, because this is a lesson on global warming and climate change, the first thing you're going to want to do is assess what your students already know about climate change. So that way you have a gauge of where to start with your lesson. I taught 7 years high school chemistry, clock the shirt, wear it periodically. Yes, I've got the jokes, thank you, it's funny. And my favorite way to start a lesson is by gauging what my students already know about a given topic. So I'm going to pull our unified menu out, which I can pull from the right, the bottom, or the left, depending on where I like to stand in the classroom. And I'm going to select here our whiteboard. Whiteboard brings up this blank space here that is a canvas for me to start working on. Now, I could sit here and draw a concept map, but that takes too much time. And time is so valuable as educators. So instead, what I can do here is I can open up some preloaded images that exist on every single whiteboard app. I can tap this here, and now I have a concept map ready to go. So I'm going to use my stylus that came with my Promethean board, and I'm going to write climate change right here in the middle. Climate change. Now I'm going to ask my students, I have some students in the class with me, what are some words that you associate with climate change?
Getting warmer.
Getting warmer. Anyone else?
No polar bears.
No polar bears. That is so sad. No polar bears. Now let's say instead, I agree that lack of biodiversity or threat to biodiversity is definitely a side effect of climate change, but no polar bears is a bummer, and I don't want to think about how no polar bears are. So what I can do here is I can take my hand, and this board actually recognizes the difference between my stylus and my hand, and I can come in here and I can erase with my hand instead. I can always tell another educator out in the wild by the expo bruise they get on the back of their hand from working on whiteboards throughout the day. Well, now you can get the same effect here on our instant whiteboard. I can erase with the back of my hand, but with no expo bruise. Now you can, go out in the wild and no one will know that you've been writing on a whiteboard all day because it stays clean. So let's say I've filled this whole thing with general understanding for my students. Now I want to dive deep into an engaging lesson. So what I can do here is I'm going to pull out my unified menu and I'm going to click on this source button. I'm actually going to switch my source over to an OPS, which is a computer that we have attached to the back. And our computer on the back is actually our OPS-M, which stands for Microsoft. So I actually have a Microsoft machine attached to this panel. I can run anything that runs on Microsoft, things like Handwriting Without Tears, textbook apps, and Activinspire, which I'll talk more about in a second. But I don't have any cords for me to trip over, right? Look at me, not tripping. It's fantastic. I don't get this experience too often, but because we have it plugged right into the back of our panel, now I can make sure that I'm not worried about tripping over anything, and I can entertain all of you and obviously my students with these really engaging lessons. What I have up here is our interactive lesson delivery software to create engaging and exciting lessons for your students. This is called Activinspire. You can see down here, I pull it right up on my desktop. When I open up Activinspire, this is what my dashboard looks like. How beautiful is that? Look at those colors, so cute. I have the ability to start new files. You can embed activities. There's 10 different kinds of activities you can create with your students. We've got annotations, we've got timers. There's everything in Activinspire. So here in my Activinspire, I've embedded a website that's going to get us thinking about how we can use ice cores, which we've gathered from the poles, and learn more about climate change. So if I tap on this image here, what I was able to do is embed an action into that image that automatically pulls up this website. So here I can scroll, and now I have some really interesting content about core questions and introduction to ice cores. I understand the importance of literacy in all subjects. You understand the importance of literacy in all subjects. It's important that we're teaching our students how to read in all different disciplines, because reading for science is different than reading for English language arts, or reading for social studies, or reading for math. So here I've got this global climate change, the vital signs of the planet from NASA's website. And within my unified menu, which floats on top of my OPS, I still have access to all this great stuff. I can click here on this orange annotate button, and I get a toolbox that looks pretty similar to the toolbox we have in our whiteboard, except now it's floating on top of this website. My students can be following along on their own devices, or maybe on a printout sheet of paper, but what I can do here is I can model close reading for my students by circling key information and reacting to the text. I even inside here have the ability to highlight important text. And we're going to show our students that we don't have to highlight it all, because when you highlight it all, right, nothing's really important. Here I can show them the proper way to highlight, and they don't have to be embarrassed later in life when they highlight whole sheets of text. I can close this out here once I'm finished. We're done reading about the climate change from NASA's website, and I'm going to come right back here over to Activinspire. So here's my Activinspire. Also inside Activinspire, I've embedded this video. This is from NASA Eclipse, one of our partners for this event. If I tap on this here, I can get some video pulled up that goes through here looking at how scientists collect ice cores. So now I'm taking this content and I'm delivering it to my students in a way that I can put into my lesson. So it's very cool. The video actually starts off with a dude who's like, "What does chainsaws have to do with science?" And realistically, the idea behind that is that they're using heavy-duty equipment to take out these ice cores from all over. Coming back to Activinspire, I can pull up this map, which I've embedded into Activinspire, and I can ask my students, where do you think we're going to be finding ice cores? It's very easy. All I did was I dragged and dropped this image from Google right here onto my Activinspire page within my flip chart, which is what we call our file types. And you'll notice I have this great toolbox over here with lots of different things that I can use to engage my students in this lesson. I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to select purple, because that's my favorite color. And I can ask my students, where in the world might we be finding these ice cores that give us clues about the history of Earth's climate change? We can come in here and circle Greenland, because it actually is white, covered in ice. Down here we know that's where Antarctica is. We can get some here, maybe in northern Russia. And now I'm annotating on top of my flip chart. You'll notice that if I come to this page, for us to talk about the differences between observations and inferences, and I come back to this previous page, all of my annotations are still there. So I can use this to engage students and come back to it later. We can make a history or a record of things that we observe from what we see and things that we infer, and we can continue to add to it over time as a living and breathing document, which is what science is. We want to continue to build our understanding and know that most of the concepts that we talk about are evolving. But what I really want to show my students is where we can get these from all over the world. So using the Google Tour Builder, a phrase that you can Google, very easy to find, you can actually build a virtual tour to share with your students. So when I click on this here, I created a tour called The Study of Earth's Cores. You can find it on the Google Tour Builder. And you can see here I've mapped out 3 different locations. I've embedded some pictures in here, and I can include text. So within this, I can have students reading for understanding. I can lead this as a group discussion with my students, or they can be working on their own by me placing this in our learning management system and allowing them to explore with it as well. I still have access to all of my annotate tools that I had before with our close reading exercise, and now we can close read different things within our tour. But I can come in here, I'm going to click next, and the first place that we go here is Greenland's ice sheet. So just by the click of a button, I can bring my students and take them from where they are, wherever we are, in my case, Central North Carolina, and we can go on a tour here of everything that we can see. Now I can read information, right? I've included information here about ice sheets and where and how scientists gather those cores. And I have a little picture slideshow. I don't know if y'all can see that. But this is changing with pictures that I've pulled of scientists and of areas within Greenland in order to get our ice cores and be able to analyze the information that they're giving us. So I can come around here. And with our flat panels, you can see how easy it is for us to get a 360 tour just by swiping around of what I'm doing with my students. What an engaging way to take something that we're talking about ice and getting them very excited to see what the history of global warming or climate change is. I can click next here, and you can see that we'll go down to Antarctica. It's animated and it flies us down there. And I've dropped the pin right here in Antarctica, and we can compare and contrast the different climates. Once again, you'll see that I've included some pictures as well as some text down here for my students to see. This is a builder, just like anything else that Google makes, very user-friendly. It'll ask you for a location, you type it in, and then you can include text. I've seen some really interesting tour builders about the study of the history of authors or historical events and really taking a tour. We can think about how we can engage students in topography, maybe when Alexander the Great crossed the Alps with the elephants. Maybe? Is that a thing? I don't know. I was not a history teacher. Things I should know and I don't. The last place I have here is we can bring it back to the United States, North America. And this is Lakewood, Colorado. Right? Lakewood, Colorado, where actually a lot of the analysis of these ice cores are taking place. So I can come in here, take a look at this. I've included some information and some additional text with my students. So this here is a really great way to take something that's kind of abstract and bring it down to a level that students can engage with in a meaningful way. So once again, that's our Google Tour Builder right over here. And it's very easy to access. Google Tour Builder, because it lives on Chrome, will run on your OPS-G or your ActiveConnect-G, or even, if I come in here to our menu, go into my locker, because it's a website, I can pull it up on Chromium right from the panel itself as well. Do we have any questions that I can help answer about virtual field trips?
Actually, we don't.
Did I just do that good of a job,
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen?
yes.
I do want to show you here, if I come in, I'm going to pull up another window. So once again, this looks like a Windows computer because it is a Windows computer. I've got an on-screen keyboard that pops up, and I can search for Google Earth. Here we go. And so if I didn't want to go to all the, all of the hubbub to create a virtual tour, I can come in here to Google Earth. I'm sure Matt showed this earlier, my colleague and the resident STEM guru in our lab. And I can come in here and I can start showing off things in Chrome as well. Something that he illustrated that's available in this particular browser is our 3D effect and being able to tilt, and we can see those topographical features that we have. So while this is loading, we can start brainstorming with my students. Let's go to Greenland, let's go to Antarctica, let's see all of the different places, and I can pinch and zoom, right? Come in here and see, ooh, look, we have all this weather patterning, and I can come in here and really get an idea with my students what's going on. So, let's see here. Yeah, anyway, pinch and zoom. No other questions about Activinspire?
We don't have questions, but we have lots of kudos.
Oh, good.
Loving the Google Tour Builder. Loving you. Can't wait to
Yeah.
test out with kids. So great ideas. We're loving these ideas.
Y'all should come to all of my sessions and just be so excited all the time, right? We can have so much fun together. I love it when people ooh and ah. And I'm feeling the virtual oohs and ahs in this session. Before we start to wrap it up, I do really want to take a moment and talk with y'all about some ways that you can continue to learn about STEM. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to pull from my menu, which I can pull from anywhere, but I've been hanging out on the right-hand side because I'm right-handed, and I don't want to, that's weird, right? Don't turn your back on a class ever, right? It's true with this too. So I can pull out my menu, and I'm actually going to open up my recent apps. Works very similarly to how it would on your phone. These are all of the apps that we have running, and I can open that up and click on my PowerPoint presentation, the one that I had earlier, as a really easy, one-click way to get back to what I was working on. So like I said, at 1:30 we've got gadgets. At 2 we have solar power. At 2:30 we have a hole-in-one with my partner and colleague Katie down here in the North Carolina STEM Lab. If you are interested in learning more, continuing to learn more about Promethean, you can follow us on Twitter at LearnPromethean and tag us at LearnPromethean. What is our hashtag for today?
It is NOV8 and then the word innovate.
Innovate. There we go. You can hashtag us, you can tweet us, and we're so excited. I can only speak to my experience as an educator, but I don't think I've ever had an original thought in my life. Got it from Google, got it from a fellow educator. Learn Promethean is always retweeting great ideas from educators across the world who are incorporating great things with Promethean into their classrooms. You can also visit us at learnpromethean.com for how-to videos and printable resources. And if you go to academy.prometheanworld.com or Google the phrase Promethean Academy, you can enroll. Anyone can create an account, and you can take online courses on how to learn how to use Activinspire, that lesson engaging delivery software I talked about, or ClassFlow, which is online based, or the panels, or we just added one today about STEM and bringing in STEM from, out in the world right there into your classroom with Promethean. So we have those resources for you too. Thank you so much for being online with us today. I am so glad to have spent the last, 30 minutes with y'all, and I wish you the greatest of days. Stay tuned for some more great stuff with Promethean.